What is good, all of our listeners and viewers? Welcome back to another episode of Games and Groceries. My name is Adam.
And I'm Liz.
And we're in a completely different set. Woo! We're here with episode 126, where we're talking about, hey, does the gaming industry need to be reset? But first, we've got some segments for you. Yes, we do. Cool. So yeah, we moved the set.
We did. Can't tell.
Yeah, I can't really tell. It might be a little bit more echoey because it's a bigger room. But we're working on the audio treatment of this whole room, if you will. But there's a new set for coffee games. That we got a surprise set for maybe some other content coming up. Who knows? First and foremost, I know I usually ask you, how you doing?
Me?
Yeah. But,
how am I doing?
Yeah, but I don't care right now.
Okay.
But yes, thank you for coming on. Those who are new subscribers.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. If you came here for Mr. Maddie Plays, thank you. We appreciate you for sticking around. We thank you for clicking that subscribe button to seeing what we can do with the channel. So if you're here, thank you so much, honestly. And we got a lot more show to give you. But that's all I gotta really say is thanks for clicking subscribe.
Thanks.
But how are you doing?
I'm good. I played Sims today.
Yeah.
I got to build a house with the new platform system that they have.
Cool.
So super fun.
Yeah. How was that work?
They actually did a couple updates.
Yeah.
They added platforms, and then instead of just showing this is your relationship with this person, you can open up a whole profile about them and see their actual feelings towards you and the relationship that you have.
Fun.
So it's interesting. I'm enjoying.
Cool. So let's get this show on the road. What do you think?
I agree.
Cool. If you want to hear us more babble on some more and we just talk about anything, we have another podcast called the What's the Biz podcast. Links are down below. It's an audio only podcast. If you want to check that out, check it out at your own free will.
Yeah.
But just gotta tell you that we're on social media. We're on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or you can follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
You can also follow us on Instagram, Games Groceries, all one word, where you can see some memes or some updates about the channel, or even some questions I'll ask you about this certain podcast. Wow, I want to get you in on the discussion. And you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and even Facebook, and I'll ask you a question about the show, and you can be in on the discussion point. So follow us on social media and be involved. Why don't you? And we have a website, gamesgroceries.com, where you can listen to all the podcasts from the website, as well as you can find out where you can listen to the audio versions of the podcast, as well as some articles I've written in the past.
Yeah.
And if you're new here, hi, how you doing? You're doing good? Great. Awesome. Be sure to click that subscribe button and a notification bell so that you know when all these podcasts come out, as well as our weekly videos. Let's just put it that way. Right now we're doing coffee games, and there might be more in the future. We're just doing the planning stages of that.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming along for the ride. Again, we've got some new subscribers here. Great growth that we're doing. So thanks again. If you're new here, if you haven't yet, definitely hit that subscribe button so that you know what the future holds for Games and Groceries. I think that's all we need to say.
I agree.
Cool. Great. So let's just go on to our first segment.
Movie Minutes.
Movie Minutes is a segment that we talk about the movies that we watched in the past week, whether it be on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, not really in theaters at this point in time. We would like to give you a review and a recommendation or not a recommendation. For the month of December, all the way through, maybe to my birthday, 12th day of Christmas, we're going to be reviewing Christmas movies.
Woo-hoo!
Whoa! It's Christmas time, everybody. Oh! Yeah. But so we're going to be doing a 5-point scale again, much like we do with our other movie minutes. But this is based off of jingles, if you will. How much Christmas spirit does it give us? Does it really give a good Christmas vibe to it? Not necessarily a good movie, but does it give you a good Christmas spirit to it?
Yeah.
So this week's movie minutes actually comes from Netflix. I know we did 3 Netflix films in a row, but hey, Netflix had the best Christmas movies. Sue me.
Yeah.
But it's a Christmas movie from Netflix, and it's a little bit called Jingle Jangle. Whoa! It's got some star hitters in there, including Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah.
It's got Forrest Whitaker. And there's another person in it. I can't remember. Oh, no. But there's a good star clad.
There's a Good amount.
Yeah.
The grandmother was someone, I can't remember her name though.
Yes. Oh, she was the mother from the Cosby Show.
Yeah, but I don't remember her name.
I can't remember her name either. But let's go into our opening thoughts. Go.
So I wasn't sure what this movie was about, but I enjoyed it. It definitely gave a mixture of Greatest Showman and High School Musical vibes.
Yeah.
Like it was inspired by Greatest Showman for sure, but the songs kind of ended up coming out High School Musical instead.
Yeah.
But overall it was good. It was really cute. It was a good story.
Yeah.
It was a cute movie.
So I do want to jump into my first note, which relates to what you just said, is that this is a musical spectacular. And like what you did say, when you pointed it out, I couldn't help but unsee it.
Yeah.
But it definitely has Greatest Showman inspiration.
Yes, definitely.
And to the point where you looked up, are there any producers that came from Greatest Showman to this movie? And
yeah. There were none that I saw.
But it was produced by John Legend.
Yes, John Legend was one of the producers in this.
Which is crazy to think about. But yeah, it definitely took a lot of inspiration from Greatest Showman, including the set pieces,
costumes,
even
the like big numbers were very Greatest Showman.
Yeah, so if you've seen The Greatest Showman and you enjoyed that, you'll like Jingle Jangle, I think, in that kind of terms, in terms of a musical setting. But it definitely had that kind of vibe to it, The Greatest Showman. Now, this is a historical set piece where, again, like The Greatest Showman, it's talking about a person, Geronicus?
Yeah, I think it was Geronicus Jingle.
Yeah, Geronicus Jangle. Geronicus Jangle, who is played by Forrest Whitaker, and his, kind of uprise and then downfall as an inventor. So it's kind of a musical and that kind of story. What did you think of the story? Was it charming at all? Did you appreciate it?
Yeah, I think it was a cute story. It was predictable but cute.
Yeah, and I even have in my second note here is that the story is a lot about mending generations through pain and all of that. And I think it does its job when it does it. And here's the one thing though, I do appreciate its story. But then again, it doesn't give a lot of Christmas magic behind it.
Yeah, they didn't even really say the word Christmas like that many times. I think they said it, 2 or 3 times?
Yeah, and they used themes of Christmas, like just believe and whimsical and toy making. Like there's a lot of
the spirit of Christmas in the movie, but it's not something that I would feel bad watching outside of Christmas.
Yeah, it was very odd in that way. But then again, it still has the elements of a Christmas movie without it being a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
That's like saying like it's got the elements of pizza without it being pizza. And it's like, how does that happen? I don't know. Write in the comments down below. How does that happen? But
it's a flatbread.
Yeah. It's a flatbread. It's got the elements of a pizza, but it's not a pizza.
There we go.
Or is it a pizza? Okay, this isn't about this. This is about Jingle Jangle. But again, aside from the snow, and this is my last note, aside from the snow, the toy makers and belief, Christmas doesn't really play a huge part in this movie.
Not really.
And it's very Christmas light in that kind of way.
It's really, they call it a Christmas movie because that was their excuse for having the granddaughter at his house.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Christmas was mentioned a couple times in that sort of way. But I think we can just jump into our closing thoughts here about Jingle Jangle, it being a Christmas movie. Again, we usually do a 5-point scale here about avoid all costs or solid, but here it's just like based off of how much Christmas spirit from 1 to 5. What did you give it out of 1 to 5 in terms of giving you Christmas spirit?
I gave it 3 jingles.
3 jingles.
Because, like I said, it was a really cute story and it had like the spirit of Christmas. But it's not really a Christmassy movie. It's not something that would be on like my must-watch Christmas movie list.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't feel wrong watching it in July.
Yeah. And in terms of our scale, 1 is The Matrix. It's just not a Christmas movie.
Nowhere
at
near
all.
Christmas.
5 is Elf.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much our yardstick there. Or the Santa Claus or something like that.
Something that is absolutely a Christmas movie.
Yeah, without question. Or Die Hard. Die Hard is 5.
Die Hard's like a 4.
Hey, now. Anyways.
4's generous.
Well, if Die Hard is a 4, that's why I think I'm comfortable giving this a 3.
Yeah.
I also gave this a 3 Jingles.
Yeah.
Because, again, like what you were saying, it's just like it's got Christmas elements to it without it being Christmas movie. And again, there's snow in this. There's toy making. There's belief. Just believe and just the magic will happen.
But there's like no mention of Santa or Christmas or like get in the Christmas spirit. It was just like, no, just be a good person.
Exactly. It just didn't feel like a Christmas movie. It felt like this could have been set in any other timepiece and it would have been just like, eh. But like, and like that, like I said, like the whole movie title was Jingle Jangle, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But we still thought it was an enjoyable movie. We liked it. We liked what we saw.
It wasn't very Christmassy.
Yeah. But that's our Christmas review of Jingle Jangle. If you're in the kind of Christmas spirit, it's one of those movies that's like, it's fine. It's a good starter, but it definitely doesn't have that kick to it. If you want something that is, and the only reason why we didn't review is because we already watched it on our own timing, was Operation Christmas Drop. That I recommend on Netflix.
Yeah, a lot of people have been watching that lately, and a lot of people love it. Yeah,
Operation Christmas Drop. We watched it. Absolutely, I give that a 4 at least.
Yeah.
On the Christmas scale, but this one's a 3. It's fine. So check either one of those out. But again, we reviewed just now Jingle Jangle. It's a musical. It stars Forrest Whitaker. So if you like Forrest Whitaker, which your boy does. And with all that said and done, I think it's time to talk about some video game news.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree.
Okay, well, let's just do it. Let's just jump into our second segment.
Top 3 Gaming News.
The top 3 gaming news is the gaming news that we saw in the past week, and we like to rank it 3, 2, 1, just to give you a condensed version of what's going on in the gaming industry. Here we are, everybody. Top 3 gaming news with Business Twins.
Oh, no.
It's Business Twins.
You should put Christmas hats on them.
No, business twins have no time for Christmas because they're business twins.
Oh.
It's double the amount of business. Anyways, let's start with our number 3 gaming news. This is about the PlayStation 5. Wow.
Yay.
You can totally experiment with this because you all have a PlayStation 5, right? No, nobody does because it got sold out. Scalpers? What? Your boy doesn't have it anyway, so.
No, we don't have it either.
No shame. But the PlayStation 5 apparently has a little bit of a feature that a lot of people are calling weird, not controversial, just weird.
Yeah.
Apparently, if you share a screenshot from the PlayStation 5 and the body of your text to Twitter, by the way, the body of your text has any kind of profanity on it, it will block it. So this is picked up by The Gamer, which I don't like to get a lot of my news from The Gamer. I don't know, but they were the original story, so here we are. But The Gamer picked this up by saying, some gamers have seen this, and The Gamer article tested it out on their own PlayStation 5, and lo and behold, they tried to send a Dark Souls screenshot with FU on it, but not F. It was a full word.
But they didn't say fudge.
They did not say fudge. And they tried to send it, and there's a screenshot on The Gamer that pretty much says that, nope, you can't. You have to take out any kind of profanity before we can put it on Twitter. And there's an interesting point in the article, which, by the way, is linked down below in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. But there's an interesting point that The Gamer makes, saying, I quote, "Furthermore, the ethicality of the sorry, let me do that again. Furthermore, the ethicality of this practice really comes into question. There's something insidious about a privately owned platform holder applying this filter when sharing to another corporation's privately owned platform. It's especially strange when taking into account that Twitter doesn't actually censor these words on there. So what The Gamer's trying to say is that it's very weird for PlayStation to put down rules before you can send it to another platform that doesn't have those rules."
Yeah. It's very weird, and it's very random, like out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, I was just like, why? I mean, I understand. Here's the thing. I would understand. Again, I think the gamer would also understand that if you sent it through a message to your friend, your buddy, and it's got cursing, it's like, nope, like censor there. But sending it to another platform into Twitter, that's a little weird.
It is very strange. I think it would be a good parental control setting.
Well, that's the other part about the story is that the gamer tried to figure out to turn it off. There is no turn off. There is no switch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it would be good to have in the parental control settings.
Yeah.
But for regular settings, for like the primary, like the adults that use it, it's like,
Yeah, who cares?
if they want to write a curse on Twitter, like that's on them.
Yeah, and it's on Twitter too. Like if
Yeah.
Twitter wants to censor cursing, fine.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that there's no parental control to switch this off. And a lot of people might say like this might be a good thing because there's too much profanity on social media anyway. But me being a Christian, sure, you can make that argument, but also
We're not against other people choosing their words however they want.
exactly, it's just like, well, Twitter doesn't censor it.
Yeah.
I have no case to say it.
Yeah. And not to put this argument in there, but at the same time, for Americans, we have freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And we are allowed to write those things on our social medias and say them if that's what we feel like saying.
Yeah, USA. But yeah, it's a little bit weird, but I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, what do you think about this? Is this ethically correct? What do you think about it? Write your thoughts in the comments down below. I kind of want to move on to the second piece of gaming news, which is kind of funny, but not very surprising. Apparently, Marvel's Avengers is actually underperforming so hard that they cannot make up any of their revenue. Like they're actually so underperformed that they've lost 7 billion yen, which I forget off the top of my head. I forget off the top of my head how much this is in US dollars.
I will look it up.
But yeah,
7 billion?
7 billion yen. This has had a net loss for Square Enix, which I'm not surprised of because this was once one of the most anticipated games to ever come out. I still remember when the teaser came out and all we saw was Thor's hammer and the shield of Captain America. That's all we got, and we're just like, wow, this is a great story.
So 7 billion Japanese yen equals to $67,272,115.14 in US dollars.
And that's how much Square Enix lost.
Over $67 million is how much they lost.
Yeah.
In Japan.
And that's insane. And Square Enix took this loss, and now they're trying to say like, oh man, how are we gonna make this up? I don't understand. And there's a quote from the company's president Matsuda, who has to say, in addition to the amortization, thank you, I'm so sleepy.
It's okay.
Of the game's development costs, explained Matsuda, another significant factor associated with the title was the fact that we undertook a major advertising campaign at the time of its launch to make up for delays in our marketing efforts resulting from COVID-19 pandemic. There's a certain amount of development costs that still need to be amortized. I know I didn't say that right, but I'm too tired. In 3 quarters, in quarter 3, I should say. But we want to recoup by regrouping our sales going forward. Now, the article that's linked down below actually points out that Matsuda never actually said his plan for making up costs.
Yeah.
He didn't have this concrete plan. All he has is, I hope that the updates will get us back old players. I hope that the DLC will actually make up for it. There's all this hope, but there's no actually concrete plans to actually make up for the losses. Now, what I'm not surprised about is that I feel like Marvel's Avengers did not need to be a multiplayer online game. It did not need to be a games of service.
Yeah.
You know? What do you think about this?
I mean, I don't know too much. I don't really know too many details about this game, but I mean, I hope they have some sort of plan in place. That's a lot of money to lose.
Yeah.
And Japan is a very big video game market. Like, no one should be losing money in Japan in their video game sales, you know?
Especially, well, here's the thing. It's like, especially when you have the name of Marvel's Avengers on your game, and the fact that it just took this much of a loss.
Yeah.
And I think
I don't even know if there is a plan they can get them that back.
They're just saying that like, oh, I hope our updates. I'm like, well, here's the thing. You're not you're not No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Like No Man's Sky, I feel like was a fluke. Like how much they updated, and not even a fluke. They knew how to fix it. But for people that forgive them, not only forgive them, but go right back into the game, it doesn't matter how many updates you give. If people are unwilling to forgive you, it's a little bit weird. But in my opinion, I think that people are willing to give Marvel's Avengers a chance. I think people want to give Marvel's Avengers a chance because it is Marvel's Avengers.
Exactly.
I want to play as Miss Marvel. I love Miss Marvel. I want to play as Troy Baker, Captain America. I think that's who he voice acts. Maybe not, but I definitely want to do that. But the fact of the matter is that it's a broken game, much like Anthem. Anthem is another example of when is that update coming out?
Yeah.
But I don't know. But they've taken a lot of loss on this.
Yes.
A lot of loss.
Yes, they have.
And they're blaming it on the campaign, the marketing campaign. That's what they're blaming it on.
That's the reason.
I don't think it is either. But, if they don't have a concrete plan, doesn't seem like they have a concrete explanation either. But write your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think that this is the right move? Do you think that Marvel's Avengers will ever become a game that you want to play? Are you playing Marvel's Avengers? Write your thoughts in the comments down below. Which brings us to our number one gaming news, which leads us into our big discussion.
Woohoo!
Talkie time without a guest this week. I'm sorry. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Too tired. But the number one gaming news actually has to do with an indie studio. Whoa! And this actually has to do with veterans from the games industry who actually designed Yellow Brick Games.
Woohoo!
I'm not wearing my glasses, so guess what? I'm putting my notebook right here. Top developers from Ubisoft, EA, and BioWare have teamed up to make this new studio. The team members include Mike Laidlaw, which is a really well-known name in the game industry. Of course, Thomas Giroux, Jeff Skulski. Thank you, Adam. Good job, Adam. And Frederick St. Laurent B are going into the indie industry now.
Cool.
And it's really interesting because what they're doing with this, they're not doing this out of, well, they kind of are doing this out of spite from their former companies. But what's really interesting is that why they're doing this, and they want to create games of old again. They want to go back into the heart of games. So Skulski has actually had this to say, saying, "We have learned a lot from working on world-class multi-year projects with thousands of colleagues, and we want to take a different approach. Leveraging a smaller, talented team where people come first, we will create amazing worlds and experiences for all others to enjoy." So what's really cool is that they just all seem focused on saying, listen, we were in the big games industry, and we worked on some high-class studios, Mike Laidlaw especially. I shouldn't say especially because I only know of Mike Laidlaw. These other three people I've heard of, but not like Mike Laidlaw. And a lot of these people just had big world-class, like they said, adventure games, right?
Yeah.
But now they want to go into a smaller indie team so that they can have the heart of the game again.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
No, I think that's great of them to do, just going with their passion, not staying with the big companies that that even though they make probably tons of money working for those companies, at least doing this, they're doing something that they're passionate about. They're really putting their heart in it, and they're, like I said, they're doing what they're passionate about. So it's going to be a better game. I'm assuming. It's got to be end up being good games that they produce.
Exactly, and these aren't the first people to start their own store. In fact, Ken Levine still has. I think his studio is called Ghost Story Games. I believe it's called. But there's a lot of veteran industry veterans that actually just go into the indie department. In fact, Night School Studios, they started from Telltale Games. So it's just another story where big veterans go into the indie department and they're just seeking to have good relational video games.
Yeah,
where people come
they
first.
want to do something that they can be passionate about and have a good relationship with the video games again.
Yeah. So I very much appreciate it. And
Yeah.
we're going to be talking a little bit more about that in our big discussion section. But any other final thoughts about this?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, go for them.
Honestly, yeah. I can't wait to see what kind of games they put out. I'm very excited for what kind of games they put out. So, but yeah, we want to hear your thoughts as well. Talk about Yellow Brick Games. Have you heard about this story? What do you think? What kind of games do you think they'll come out with? Do you think there'll be RPGs? Do you think there'll be silly games? Who knows? What do you think? Write your thoughts in the comments down below. All the articles are linked in the description down below if you want to give them a read for yourself. But I think that brings us into our final segment where we're just going to be talking about this certain subject. Again, we don't have a guest this week. Sorry, but here we are. It's just us, me, Liz, you the viewer or the listener. Who knows? Let's just go into our final segment.
Coffee time.
Every single week here in the Games Groceries podcast, we like to have little game industry topics, whether it be about female gamers or game preservation. We like to have a little discussion for the next half hour or so. So, it's been a while since it's just me and you. But
yeah, it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, but Thanksgiving weekend, we just want to focus on the holidays rather than coordination with a guest. So time to spend some me and you time, listener or viewer.
Yeah.
So this week we wanted to discuss, does the game industry need to reset itself? Just talking about how much bigger the games industry has become and kind of going back to its roots. But, let's start first. In the current state of the games industry, what's something that's good that we actually appreciate is coming out in the current state of video games?
For me, it's like just the ability that they have, because I feel like when we were younger, from my experience, there weren't too many games that were story based, like the games that I like.
Yeah, like what is story now? It wasn't story before.
Exactly.
Games like Heavy Rain, there were games that were story element, but there was a lot of limits in terms of technology that told a good story.
Exactly. So I appreciate that about current games.
Yeah. Where
we can do more and make it more realistic and tell a better story. Yeah,
and I think LA Noire had a big part in that too, because they had big part in terms of getting motion capture in the way that they did, but wasn't perfect. But it is what it is.
They did their best.
I wanted to change the color of the thing.
Oh no!
Bang! Look
there
at that.
We go.
Much more appreciative to look at. But yeah, no, I love the state of the current games industry where we get bigger games in terms of bigger landscapes. For example, Horizon Zero Dawn. I absolutely love the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, where we couldn't get that kind of game.
Yeah.
Even 5 years prior to it, because it came out a couple years ago. But 5 years prior for it to come out, a world like that, it took a lot.
Yeah.
But now we're almost expecting games like this.
Yeah, like you almost expect a game to have perfect graphics.
Yeah, or even a big landscape, or realistic facial recognition, but facial expressions.
Yes.
Which is why I think Mass Effect Andromeda got really on people's nerves. Is that the facial expressions?
Yes.
Thank you, Adam. They got a little out of wonk, wouldn't you say?
Just a little.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I love the stories that actually come out of this. And I think there's a lot more emotional storytelling that are actually coming out, especially since Life is Strange. And there's a lot more open in terms of that. And I think Life is Strange has a big part in the current state of the games industry as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I think there's still a lot of good that still comes out of the games industry. And I want to start with that first, because before we poke fun at it and saying like it needs to reset, we do want to say that we do appreciate the current state of the games industry.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe not trying to get a console in the current state of things, but it is what it is. But I still think that there's a lot of good that has come out of the gaming industry, including, and I do want to point this one out, including more accessibility to indie developers.
Yes.
There's so much a better accessibility when it comes to being an indie game developer.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Than even before. Because imagine, even in a 360 era, there wasn't as many indie developers as there is today. And I think that's why, Yellow Brick Games was designed, because it's a lot more accessible to become a indie game studio and be financially secure now, more accessible. I didn't say absolutely accessible. I didn't say absolutely financially stable. I just said more accessible.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go on to my second point here, is that why do we think we've come to this question of, does the game industry need to reset? What makes us even question the games industry right now?
I think every couple of years as humans, we always wonder if the old was better. Like, because you think about phones. How many times a year do I say I want to go back to a flip phone?
Yeah, you're talking about smartphones in that way, yeah.
Like, and you have to think about that with all technology. TVs, like, sometimes with TVs, it's like, I just want to go back to my easy cable box, television setup, and just watch cable. Yeah. Like, I have a friend who, she's like, we don't have cable. She's like, but we have so many streaming. She's like, all we do is stream all the time. Yeah. And it's just, you have to, like, I think just as humans, we're always questioning, was what we had before better? Did we take this too far?
Yeah, no, I agree, especially with smartphones. I constantly want to go back to flip phone, which I'm very excited to see Matt D'Avella's video of his update, because he
did do that.
Yeah, he's going to a flip phone for 30 days, and he's going to be talking about, is this a true transition, or have we gotten so used to the technology? And that brings me back to the video games industry. I feel like we question this because, one, there's much more crunch stories than we ever heard before. And I think it's only because, and here's the thing, I think we're only seeing a lot of crunch is because there's a lot more accessibility in terms of games journalism. You wouldn't hear those stories of crunch if games journalism didn't actually exist the way it exists right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if you even talk about, games of old, retro games, I remember hearing the story about E.T., and, that was only made within 3 weeks, I want to say. Yeah, it was like they only give like very short time periods. And it's like,
Goodness gracious.
You only get like 3 months to make this game, or even that. Right. And even now, it's like
we had so many games when I was younger.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like that's what really crashed the game industry in the first place. It wasn't ET's fault. It was really the games industry just constantly forcing more games into crunch. And that's why when you say that, I think crunch is really bad, you're only saying that because the game's journalism is making it accessible for you to actually hear about it. But really, crunch has existed since the dawn of video games. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't like people saying that, like, this is a new thing. It's not a new thing. It's really not.
It's not even exclusively to game industry. Like, go into any industry, there's always going to be a crunch of some sort in something.
Yeah, anytime I pull out a potato chip from a bag, there's going to be a crunch.
You're an idiot. I can't stand you.
Oh, no.
You're the worst. You're literally the worst.
I know. But
you know?
I know.
Good.
Also tortilla chips. But here's the thing, is that I think we only question this right now is because I feel a lot like when you were talking about smartphones, those newest gadgets that keeps coming out. The things are swoop. But I think it's because smartphones have become out of hand to the point where we're just constantly asking ourselves, is it healthy to even have this? Yeah. Can we just go back to flip phones, honestly? And I think that's what we find in video games is that games get bigger and longer stories and
more demanding,
taking up a lot more gigabyte space. But then we start to think about ourselves like, can we go back to like smaller games? Can we go back to really
Are we capable?
Yeah. Are we capable of focused games? You know what I miss is collectibles. And the collectibles of old games. I'm talking about, ridiculous collectibles, not bring up feathers so that you can, I don't know, get an axe or I don't know. But kind of like Crash Bandicoot collectibles.
You're asking about a game I've never played.
Wait, I'm sorry.
You knew this. You know this.
Oh, no.
We've discussed this.
But like never mind. But the fruit, the fruit in Crash Bandicoot in that kind of way. But anyways, but even that is like dying down. There's a lot more 3D platformers that are actually coming out pretty soon. But a lot of times we just start to think to ourselves, like, is this actually what we desire? Do we want these bigger worlds? Do we actually want some games to be bigger, more demanding on our systems, really running tests on our PC to say, like, can it run this? A lot like Crysis did, but Crysis was a meme at that point. Like, can your PC run Crysis? You know?
Yeah.
Now a Nintendo Switch can run Crysis, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I think we start to question that only because we've gotten to a point where we just start to say, a lot like our smartphones, do we want this?
Yeah.
You know?
Have we taken this too far? Have we asked too much?
Yeah. Especially when every game needed to be an RPG for some reason.
Yes.
Every game needed to be open world, RPG. And I think I really started to question that when I played Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the RPG elements, but it's the vast landscape. Like, huge landscape. Not only at that, but a story. And Rockstar has a tendency to do this. Stories that just overstay their welcome.
Yeah.
A lot. And Rockstar does a lot to do this. You felt this a lot when you first played LA Noire. And you got to a point where just like,
are we done?
Yeah, Rockstar games tend to overstay their welcome, in my opinion, on our opinion. But and that's kind of going into what the games industry actually really does in that sort of point.
Yeah.
And that's what brings you to another point that I have, right? Let's discuss this. Like, with the bigger, better, the more demanding games, do you really think it's something that gamers want? Maybe it's just me and you. Me and you love shorter games.
Yeah.
We love Life is Strange, where it's just episodic. I love shorter games. I love Oxenfree. I've played Oxenfree at least 50 times at this point. But in terms of grandeur games, do you really think it's just us? Maybe it's all gamers who want bigger, better games, right? Or do you think it's the games industry that's telling us, no, you do want bigger, better, and it's just gamers are saying, like, yeah, totally?
I think it's kind of a mix. I think it's that maybe people who are around our age who don't have as much time to be playing video games would prefer the shorter games.
Yeah, and that's what...
And of course, we kind of want the ones similar to our childhood. It's what we grew up with.
Yeah.
But you have to think of, like, the kids today.
Yeah. The kids today.
Yeah, the kids today who are playing, they don't know what the old games were like. I mean, we even tried to get one of our students to play one of our old games, and he didn't want anything to do with it. He was like, no, I'm good. And you have to think, so they've grown up with these bigger, better games. And so the game industry just keeps making them bigger and better and saying, look what we can do. Look what you can do with this. Look what we made this be able to do. And you're like, wow, that's awesome. I need that. Because for me, I know that there are certain smartphones that I wish I had just to experience their capability.
Yeah.
But I don't really want or need a smartphone. I just want to see the cool thing it can do.
Well, I don't want to talk too much on it because that's going to be my next coffee games about that kind of subject. So I don't want to speak too.
Oh. Well, that's...
well, no. Like, I'm not saying it's your fault. I mean, it kind of is. But I am going to be talking more about that in terms of minimalism and gaming culture. But yeah, I think there's a great quote by a person, I can't remember their name. I am so sorry. But if you watch a minimalism documentary on Netflix, there's a professor or an author. Man, this is really bad. I can't remember her name. But she said, she was asked the question, do you think America is much too materialistic? And she said, well, actually quite the opposite. We're not materialistic enough because we want more. We don't really desire what is of old. Yeah. So we kind of throw things away and we're always asking what's next, what's new. And I think that's just like that. I think gamers like us who are grown up and not grown up in terms of like, oh, just grew up. But I'm nearly 30 years old. I work a full-time job. I'm, doing YouTube stuff on here. I don't have as much time to game as I would like to. Whereas back in high school, I had all the time.
Oh, yeah.
All the time to game. Like that's it. I had full-time schooling, but did I do school right? No, I did not. I barely passed high school. But and that's my point, is that I have way less time, so I need my gaming to be intentional.
Yeah.
And that's where shorter games come in. I love playing more shorter games rather than commit myself to a longer game, a lot like Red Dead Redemption 2, which took me a month to beat that game.
Yeah.
And that was just just focusing on the game,
Yeah.
putting my full focus. If I was just, right now, I don't know when I would have beaten that game. But I sometimes do think that it's just the games industry that markets it to say, like, you do want bigger worlds.
Yeah.
Like they start to see a trend go in some direction.
Yeah.
And I especially think it's when NBA 2K started to say that it's the best sports RPG. I'm just like, were we asking for a sports RPG?
It's like, you are now.
I was just like, who was asking for a sports RPG?
It's like they create something so cool that they know we won't be able to resist.
Yeah.
And they're saying, look at how cool this is. Look what we made this do. And now everyone's like, oh, well, I need that.
Yeah.
And so then they ask for more. But they weren't asking for it.
Yeah.
They just thought it was cool. And they're like, well, now I want more.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a cycle. And it's I believe it really comes down to what came first, the chicken or the egg. When I'm asking the question of do you think it's corporations like big gaming? When I say corporations, I'm talking about upper management.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the people at the upper of EA, Activision, not just even the lower management, but the upper people who handle the big money. Do you think it's them just like coming down on gamers and saying that, do you want this, or do you think it's gamers who are demanding it? And I think it becomes a cyclical kind of argument in the similar light of what I just said. What came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the corporation or the gamer?
Yeah.
And before we go into social media answer, before we go into that, when I ask that, just what do you think? What do you think came first, the gamer or the corporation?
I think it's the corporation.
Yeah.
I think any company is trying to be the first one to create something new or, start something new. And so these companies are just trying to see what they can do, where their abilities lie.
Yeah.
And so they create this big thing and then they put it in a game, and then gamers see it and be like, oh my gosh, that's really cool. I want it.
Yeah.
And then we start asking for more. And then they create something new again and we ask for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's always the corporation.
Yeah.
In this situation, the corporation is first.
Which is why I begged the question, does the game industry need to reset? Because it feels like corporations are now kind of controlling the market for video games rather than, game developers who are making an art, which, again, I'm arguing even in retro games, it wasn't always an art. A lot of times it was corporations demanding that make this game in 3 months because it's becoming a trend. There is that argument, but then again, that's why a lot of people are going into indie games, which I'll talk about a little bit.
I have an example.
Oh, okay.
I have an example of like the creation and now we want more of it.
Yeah.
The dual sense.
Yeah.
We weren't asking for that.
Yeah, but I also do enjoy it. Like, I haven't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We weren't asking for a controller that does what it does.
Yeah.
But now I can't help but think like, it'd be so cool if that was on both systems.
I do tend to think about that. Like, I wish I was on the Xbox, Like,
exactly.
why can't all? Yeah.
And so now, of course, give it a few years, there's going to be a new version of this series of Xbox.
Yeah.
That'll have that type of controller.
And it'll get further and further down the line where we're expecting every controller to have some sort of feature to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's my example.
Yeah.
Boom.
But yeah, I do want to, bring it to you into the comments before we go into our social media answer. Write your thoughts in the comments. So far in the conversation, what do you think about this? Do you think the games industry needs to reset? Do you think it needs to actually, go back in of itself? Do we need to have the power to say that I don't want this and actually vote with our wallets? Answer is yes. But I do want to bring it back to you. I will ask you questions on social media. I will ask it to you on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word, or on Facebook. We're on Facebook. It is what it is. But I did ask you the question, do you think the games industry needs to reset itself? And we have one answer from @Commander Nikki, who has to say, let's just stop the crunch. I saw a great comment suggesting that this disqualifies them from the awards, which I'll get to in a minute. But do a year of full indie support, see what's possible to get some fresh minds in the industry. Get cross-platform gaming, let friends play together no matter what platform they own. So there's 3 points that Nikki just made, and I do want to discuss them all. The first one about crunch. And again, I know Nikki is very adamant about stopping crunch. I'm sorry, my nose is like super itchy. My goodness. But again, crunch is not a new thing.
Yeah.
It never was a new thing. It always has been around. And especially I've learned this more from reading Patrick Hickey Jr.'s book. You should read his book, Behind the Developers. Wow, you should do it. Patrick Hickey, of course, was a guest on our show. Really, really cool guy. Definitely, he's going to come back on the show sometime at some point in the future. But yeah, I think that's crunch saying that it disqualifies them from the awards. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because it's always has to do with the situation. In fact, with the Cyberpunk situation, it turned out that a lot of them were okay with the crunch, but now they're saying that they're being blindsided. So I don't know. It always depends on crunch.
It's a hard topic to judge, especially when there's developers all over the world with different work norms in their countries.
Exactly. So it's kind of weird to think about, but I do like the idea that it disqualifies them from any kind of gaming awards. It's the idea of it, but at the same time, I feel like crunch is inevitable when it comes to the gaming industry. At least it seems like it. I don't know. But it disqualifies them from the awards. That's part of resetting the industry. Now, doing a full year of indie support to see what's possible in fresh minds. Now, EA has done this with Sea of Solitude and Unravel, which is Yarny is hanging right there. They did this with A Way Out, and they're still doing it with Joseph Fares's next game. Fares? Is that his name? No.
No idea.
Joseph Fares. That doesn't sound right. Anyways, but they're doing it with his game as well. They're doing another game with Joseph Fares. I don't even know if that's right. But yeah, EA used to have this a lot. This used to be a lot more prevalent. But I think maybe, doing a full year of indie support where kind of like what EA did was kind of funding these indie studios and seeing what they could do and maybe kind of recruit them into, I don't know. What do you think about that one?
No, I mean, I think that's a great idea to have, the big developers supporting indies, because that not only shows a side of developers that most of us don't get to see, is that charitable helping and guidance side, but also it helps us get more developers and more talent in the industry.
Exactly. I do like a full year of indie support, especially because your boy loves indie games. Love them. Including Ori. I mean, and that's the other thing. Xbox does go out and say that, like, supporting indie developers, where I don't think that we would have really heard about Ori if it wasn't for Microsoft's kind of support in that. And I don't think we would have really cared about Sea of Solitude or Unravel if it wasn't for EA, who are really supporting them.
Yeah. EA
doesn't really do too much anymore, but who knows? There could be a lot more games that come out of EA that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
But doing a full year of indie support to see what fresh minds have to play. And then finally, get cross-platform gaming. Let friends play together no matter what platform they own. I would like to bring that around and saying, bring couch co-op back.
Yes.
I need couch co-op back. And the reason for couch co-op, and a lot of people made this really good point, is that the reason why a lot of the gaming industry will exit out of couch co-op is because that it gives a reason for your friends to buy another copy of the game. Which is why when I really hope this is his right name, Joseph Fares, which it doesn't sound right. Write your thoughts in comments down below. Am I saying this right? Who knows? But that's why when they came out with A Way Out, it was great because Joseph Fares said, you don't need to buy another copy. You can just send out a friend code. They can come on. Boom. Good to go. But again, cross-platform gaming, let friends play together no matter what platform they own. And I think that's true. A lot of times where you buy a new game game system, you're really going on what your friends are playing.
Yeah.
And not really on what system you actually want. You're actually saying, well, where are my friends?
Yeah.
Are they on Xbox? Are they on PlayStation, PC, Nintendo? Where are they? Instead of saying, this is the platform I want. What do you think about any of Nikki's comments?
No, I agree with the cross-platform, and I've talked about that before when we've discussed topics similar to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it would be so much easier if everything was just cross-platform. It would be if any company claims to be, customer-minded and therefore the customers and the players, you should be for cross-platform then.
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely want to see more cross-platform games because I do want to play more with friends that are on other systems, including even Nintendo Switch. And I don't care, play on PC if you want to.
Yeah.
Beat me in multiplayer. I don't really care. But yeah, I think going into kind of our closing thoughts is the one last point I want to bring up is that do you think that veterans of the games industry will be the ultimate rise of this reset era that we're talking about? Much like Mike Laidlaw Mike Laidlaw going into Yellow Brick, and what I said before, Ken Levine, who started Ghost Story Games. There's another one pretty recently that did the same thing, and I can't remember.
Wasn't it like two brothers that went? They left the company.
Yeah.
And started their own.
Well, I said Night School Studios, but they were cousins, and I can't remember the two brothers. I think there's also two brothers, but there's a lot of people who leave the industry and they start their own stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think this is the rise of a reset era in gaming?
I don't know if it'll be the rise. I think it'll just be the rise of indie.
Yeah.
And now indie does have a more of a lean towards old school because people are of course making games that they're passionate about that brought them into games, which was
a lot like Celeste.
What they had when they were growing up. So of course they lean towards more retro, but I think it'll lead to more towards indie and not so much going back in time, but just more indie games.
And I think Yacht Club Games, who made Shovel Knight, I think they came from the games industry and they started their own game company. I'm pretty sure. I'm half sure, I should say. But I think they only leave this to get the heart of video games back into their games.
Yeah.
Where they felt like we're not really giving our elements anymore. Yeah, you go into these big corporations, and a lot like retro gaming before, where it was just kind of like, put all these games out, no matter what, doesn't matter. Here's the trend, and that's what crashed the game industry before. And in this point, I don't think it's crashing the games industry. I think it's more crashing the heart of a developer.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not really crashing, the economy of the games industry, but it's really crashing creativity at the same time. Which is why it was interesting when Giroux, he had to say, or no, Skolsky said, when he said that we want to get the personal heart behind our games again. We were in world class, big projects, but now we want to get into really deep diving games. And that's why I'm very excited for Ken Levine and Ghost Story even. And that's why I liked Night School Studios. I didn't really like After Party too much.
Yeah.
That was just my personal preference and according to Oxenfree. Or even I don't know if Jet has anybody from the veteran gaming industry. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm very excited for Jet. But my point is that I think we're going to see a reset era, not in this way of retro video games, like we're going to get pixel art and 8-bits kind of soundtracks, which, if you want to make that game, great, I will play it. But I think it's just going to be the heart of the video game that we're going to be as reset into. Yeah. What do you think? Any final thoughts?
Not too many final thoughts. I pretty much just agree with what you said. I mean, you kind of reiterated what I said, but yeah, I don't think we'll see too much going backwards. I think you might see inspiration from retro, but I don't think we'll go entirely back. Because you're not going to see them producing games in that short of amount of time. You're going to see them putting their heart and soul into a more simple game.
I do think so. And I hope this is a reset in terms of Like what we said with cell phones, even I like going back to just simplistic styles. And that's the thing about video games, like we want bigger, grandeur, more art heavy video games, and we expect so much out of video games now, and we don't appreciate the simplicity anymore of a good, fun video game. You know, and I think Ghost of Tsushima did that well. There's a lot of fun in Ghost of Tsushima, including following yellow birds around. That's great. But in terms of like expecting every game to have the best art direction or just a really good video game that you really enjoy, which again, that's another coffee games that I have, planned out, but I think that's a good way to end this conversation. What do you think?
I agree.
Cool. Yeah, so let's just end the discussion here. And again, if you have any thoughts yourself, write them in the comments down below. What do you think about all this? Do you think the games industry needs to reset? Any of the top 3 gaming news or what we thought about Jingle Jangle? Write your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to leave a like and share with a friend, your family, or even, hey, your enemies. Your enemies could use a podcast. That'd be great. That'd be great of you. Yeah. But we're gonna jet on out of here.
Okay.
Yeah. But we thank you again for listening to the Games Groceries podcast. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries. You can follow us on Instagram, Games Groceries, all one word. We're also on Facebook. If you want to see any updates about the channel, again, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when all these podcasts come out, as well as our weekly videos that we put out every Thursday morning, just for you, for your entertainment. And again, thank you so much if you are a new subscriber. We very much appreciate you for coming along for the ride. And with all that said and done, we hope you have a safe one. Please wear a mask. Be sure to check out our other podcast, What's the Biz? And without further ado, take care.
Bye.